let's talk about forgiveness. It's one of those things, right? It sounds so simple, but in reality, it's one of the most complex emotional puzzles we have to solve, especially when we're just trying to figure out our relationships and, well, life in general. So, why is letting something go so ridiculously hard?
I mean, you know the feeling. We've all been there. Your brain is screaming, just move on, let it go. But your heart, it's just not on the same page. It's this universal tug of war, this huge gap between knowing what we should do and what we can actually get ourselves to feel. So let's get into what's really going on here. You could call this the forgiveness paradox. It's that internal battle that really sets the stage for this whole conversation. What we're going to do is unpack the hidden barriers that make forgiveness feel less like a choice and more like climbing a mountain. Okay, so the first major roadblock we run into is something called deep-seated emotions. The idea here is pretty simple, but it's huge. When you get hurt, your reaction isn't just about what happened 5 minutes ago. No, it's plugged into your entire emotional history. You've heard the term emotional baggage, right? Well, that's exactly what this is. We all have it. Wounds from when we were kids, betrayals from old friendships or relationships, that stuff doesn't just vanish. It hangs around, showing up as this lingering anger or making you super hesitant to trust anyone again. It makes letting your guard down feel almost impossible. And listen, lugging that baggage around with you, it's exhausting. It takes a huge toll on your mental health, it lets those old, painful feelings call the shots in your current life, and it can literally stop you from growing as a person. It's this incredibly heavy weight, and the person it hurts the most is the one carrying it. And that leads us right into the next big barrier. You can think of it like putting on a suit of armor. We'll call it the armor of resentment. It's what we wear to protect ourselves from ever getting hurt like that again, but the irony is, it's the very thing that keeps us trapped. So, what's this armor really made of? At its core, it's one thing: the fear of vulnerability. It's that voice in your head that whispers, hey, if you forgive, if you open yourself up again, you're just gonna get burned. And man, that fear is powerful. It's what keeps so many of us completely stuck. But this is where we have to totally flip the script. We're taught from day one that vulnerability is weakness. But what if it's the exact opposite? What if it's actually the ultimate source of strength? It's not about inviting rejection. It's the only real path to genuine connection. And believe it or not, to healing. Because here's what happens when we let that fear run the show. We get stuck in this nasty loop, a cycle of avoidance. We just keep pushing those feelings down, pretending they're not there, but they don't go away. They just fester, trapping us in resentment, which then bubbles up as anxiety or even depression. It doesn't protect us at all. You know, there's this quote from Paula Williams's book, The Heart of the Matter, that just hits the nail on the head. When we hold on to anger, we allow those emotions to control our lives. Think about that for a second. Holding on to anger isn't a power move. It's literally handing over the keys to your life to someone else. All right, so we've laid out the problems, right? The emotional baggage, this armor of fear. The million-dollar question is, what do we actually do about it? How do we break the cycle and have a real breakthrough? Well, it all comes back to finding strength in that vulnerability we were just talking about. So, here's a roadmap, a path to healing. It's not easy, but it is straightforward. First, you just have to acknowledge what you're feeling without judging yourself for it. Then, you got to do some self-reflection. Journaling, meditating, whatever works for you. Super important. Find a support, a friend, a mentor, a therapist. And finally, you have to turn around and face those fears. And look, I'm not going to pretend this part is fun. It's hard. But this is the whole point. Walking through that fear is how we build resilience. It's how we take a really painful experience and turn it into wisdom. It's what makes us stronger and more capable of handling whatever life throws at us next. And that brings us to the ultimate payoff, the grand prize for doing all this hard emotional work. We tend to think that forgiving someone is a gift we give to them, but the most powerful truth about forgiveness is that it's an act of self-liberation. It's for you. Seriously, just let that sink in for a minute. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's not about saying, you know what you did was totally okay. It's not even really about them at all. It's about freeing yourself. It's about you finally deciding that you are no longer going to carry the heavy weight of someone else's mistake. It is you taking your power back, period. And when you do that, the rewards are massive. You reclaim your emotional power. You start to find compassion not just for others, but for yourself. Your relationships get deeper and more honest, and you get to live a life that feels more authentic, more you. So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with just one thing to think about. Now that you see that forgiveness isn't weakness, that it's actually the ultimate act of personal strength, what weight could you finally free yourself from?